So Megan or M3gan or Megan. It's one of those. I don't know.
It's definitely not Megan. She says it's Megan. That's what they say the whole movie. Let's just stick with that.
Just saying, when you read it and you see the three, you're just like, what is this? Is this the third movie, or are we pronouncing this weird?
I'm curious what they will call the eventual third movie of this. Like, what are they going to call it? Like, you can't do it. It's already in the name. They should have just said Megan with like a one at the end. Now, what are they going to call it? I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe Megan the Third.
Or they'll just put the S at the end.
Megan's.
Yep. Alien style, baby, with the money sign through it.
Yeah. This movie, out of nowhere, as of right now, it is still in theaters, but out of nowhere, you could just buy it and watch it at home.
Which I did immediately when I was like, hey, so FYI, just bought Megan. Feel like this is going to change things. So we've been excited about seeing this movie, and I believe this is one of your top threes for this year, right?
It was. This was one of my most excited just because it looks crazy. It's from the creators of our favorite, Malignant. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I love a good kind of Chucky homage.
It's a lot more different. Yeah, I would say it's different than Chucky.
Oh, it's definitely different. It's Chucky in the sense that it's a toy, but when I was watching, I'm like, this is Chucky meets the Terminator.
This is like, yeah, like this is what Chucky wishes he could be. Like Chucky is like really short and he's just a fucking like doll. Like this thing's like a fucking robot.
Yeah.
You know, like Megan could take out Chucky in one fell swoop.
Yeah.
So
We are going, since this movie is still very new, it's in theaters, it's killing at the box office, but
literally.
yeah, just in case, we're going to start with a non-spoiler, and then we'll jump into spoiler.
Yeah, so let's talk about the ending. Just kidding.
So, I don't know, Renee, what was your kind of expectations, or what were you thinking prior to watching this? I know we were both excited, but like, what were you kind of expecting, and did your expectations meet, or were they different?
I would say I was definitely not expecting it to actually be like a really good movie. I mean, I guess I did. Like I love Malignant and it's just so like hilarious. So I
Hmm.
figured it would be that tone the whole movie, but I feel like this movie is better than that. Or not better than Malignant, but like it's more than that,
Yeah,
I guess, right? So there's just a lot more to it that I did not expect and it is still unbelievably just a really fun time that I was expecting. So it's just a bit more,
yeah.
but overall very satisfied. What about you?
So I'm kind of in the same place. Since it's the same group that did Malignant, it's James Wan, and then what's the writer's
Akela
name?
Cooper.
Akela Cooper.
Love her.
Since it's them, like, I essentially was expecting Malignant. I was expecting to watch this movie, it not take itself seriously. There wasn't really going to be like any underlying message. It was just like, we're just here for a good time. And this movie actually totally surprised me with how much it had to say.
Yeah, really shocking.
It was like a really thought out idea. They're like, "Hey, we're gonna do this thing." It almost reminded me of like a Black Mirror episode. Like it was like our relationship with technology and AI and parenting, and I just didn't expect that much actual, like, I don't thought, or Malignant has a lot of thought into it, but like I just didn't expect that much like intentionality of like a real world thing that they were trying to speak to.
Totally. I just thought I was here for a good time no matter what and like silly and whatever. I was just again, I think we just as much as we love Malignant, we're like that one just doesn't it's just on all a joke, right? Everything about it is a joke.
Yeah.
Right? So this one I was just shocked that there was actually other things underlying the hilarious parts with Megan.
Yeah. It's definitely hilarious.
Hilarious for sure. They're definitely in on the joke, which I think is why it works so well, but they also have surprising moments of like really, really, like, emotional scenes and
Yeah.
characters. Like, I actually really enjoyed both of the characters, all of them, really. I thought that they were all great.
Mhm.
I think Violet McGraw and Allison Williams were both really good. I've seen them in other stuff, obviously, loved them there, but they really were, like, the anchors of the movie besides, obviously, Megan. And I had a lot of feelings for them in their relationship. I was surprised that it was making such valid points and, like, deep insights about our relationship to technology as, like, a parent.
It was funny to me because, like, when I watched *Malignant*, I'm like, "I don't know who to recommend this to because I don't know if anyone else in my immediate sphere of friends, like, if this is a movie that they would get, that they would love, they would enjoy as much as I do." And I was like, "I'm okay with it. This is my thing." Watching this movie, because it has so much to say about such a relevant topic, I'm like, I want to tell every parent that I know about this movie.
Yeah.
And I still don't know if like, I don't think anyone in my family, for example, this is not a movie that they're like, "Oh, Megan, let's watch this." Like, but like, I think every parent, this would resonate. The what it's saying, I think it would resonate with them on some level. They still might not like the movie, but it has something interesting to say.
It has a lot of interesting things to say, and the fact that, the fact that it was PG-13, I think, is, like, a reason why it's doing so well, first off, because I don't know if you know, but they, like, reshot a lot of the stuff, like, the kills, especially after the trailer released and, like, the TikTok shit went crazy. Because
Mhm.
this movie has just been all over the place, like, it went viral, like, people are loving Megan
Oh,
before it
yeah.
even came out, so then they're like, "Okay, well, we should really play into the teen audience then," because, like, they're gonna be, like they wanna see it too. So that's
Yeah.
why they made it PG-13, but also, like, that wasn't a total deal breaker for me. I'm totally fine with that. Did that bother you at all, though? I was wondering.
No, I was actually expecting it to bother me more, but I thought it actually was a really, really well done, like, PG-13 movie. It almost, like, isn't a horror movie.
No, but they do have, like, good creepy
Yeah,
moments.
like, the last 15 minutes are a horror movie,
Yeah.
but, like, most of it is not, and when yeah, like, it blew up on TikTok, just the Megan dancing scene
I mean,
alone.
rightfully so. She's amazing. And that scene did, I will say, non-spoiler, but we've all seen it in the trailer. That scene lives up to the hype. It's even better than I dreamed it would be.
Yeah.
It's so good. The music choice especially.
Megan? What are you doing?
I just love the whole movie is great, but yeah, the last like third or like half of it is really a lot more where the horror kicks in. I
Mhm.
mean, when she runs in the forest too, like we saw that in the trailer.
Yeah.
That's some freaky ass shit.
Yeah, like, all the horror stuff happens in the trailer. It's great. The funny thing when I was watching it, so Sarah was watching it with me, and so she thought, like, it's a horror movie, and the movie starts, and she's like, "I'm already scared." I'm like, "Babe, that's just the Blumhouse title card, like, it hasn't even started yet, calm down."
Nolan said the same thing. He's like, "Oh, cool in Blumhouse. I have a creepy logo." I was like, "Wow, somebody's scared." I mean, it is creepy. I'll give him that, but it's like, what else would they be? Like, it's fucking. They only do horror movies, basically. So, like, what their logo should be horrifying. That was scarier than the rest of the movie, I will say.
Yeah, this is probably the least horror-centric Blumhouse movie.
Yeah, I would say so.
It's just a good time. It's great.
It's a good time while also you learn a little something, which isn't that the best when you secretly learn something while you're having a good time. That's the best.
Unconsensual learning. It's the best
Yeah.
way to go. All right, we gotta stop trying to tiptoe around it. We're gonna get into spoilers.
The hell is that?
You should probably run.
All right, so the first thing that I wanted to kind of bring up, because it's been a pretty common topic with Megan, is a lot of people were expecting it to suck because it came out in January. Did you hear that?
Well, I think especially like most horror movies that have come out around then, I guess it's like kind of a dumping ground for like if they're not very good. But then now it just seems like they're coming out all the time, so I don't really know.
So I did a little bit of research and looked at some movies that have come out in January over the years. It is actually interesting. I mean, there's definitely a lot of bad stuff that pops up, but there's also some like real bangers. Like it seems like there's at least one movie each year that is actually like a real solid movie. There's actually a surprising number of like Oscar movies that pop up in January also. Like this year we have Women Talking. Like that came out this in January and it's nominated. But like some of the other movies that have popped up in January through the years. I mean last year for example was Scream. That was a January movie.
Oh, I thought it was February.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
January.
so good.
Cuz yeah, the next Scream is coming out in March.
Mm-hmm.
So but also some of these were surprising. Taken, that was a
Really?
January movie. Cloverfield,
Mm.
also a January movie. In 2016, we had an Oscar movie and a great Quentin Tarantino movie, The Hateful Eight. And then we had The Revenant, cult classic movie, Count of Monte Cristo.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
The Jim Caviezel, Guy Pearce.
No.
Oh, it is great. It did terrible at the box office, but it is a cult classic.
They've probably there's been some that have done well, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Obviously.
yeah, I think a lot of this stuff is talking more so about the late 2000s, the last decade or so. Because Christo was 2002, but you should definitely watch it. It's awesome. It's the best thing that Jesus ever did. But
I forgot that fucker was Jesus.
but then it surprised me how many Oscar movies have popped up over the years in January, like The Revenant, 1917, Zero Dark 30, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Good Will Hunting.
Wow.
I was like, man, all the trash in January really discourages people from finding the gold.
Yeah, it does. It must be that. There's just it far outweighs it. But we have gotten some gems. I'm not surprised. There's definitely like there's been movies that they just come out when there's nothing else to come out, and then they're like the best thing ever.
What and Megan is like
Don't call her Megan. It's fucking Megan.
M3gan.
No, they say it literally 1,000 times, Chase. It is Megan, and if you start with the M3gan shit, I'm gonna lose it.
Megan?
Model 3 generative android. Megan, for short.
So Megan though is like it's almost like they've taken the ultimate January challenge. They're like, we're gonna come out in January. We're gonna come out in the first week of January. Also, we're a horror movie. We're gonna be a PG-13 release. So we're just gonna piss everyone off and have no one believe that this can be real. And then it just crushed.
I mean, honestly, the PG-13 didn't bother me. I think there's a lot of great PG-13 horror movies. I'm not like, "Oh, I love gore. I need it." Like, I don't care. However, having said that, I would definitely watch the R-rated uncut version, which, like, everyone's been like, "I fucking hope that they release that when it's, like, online or streaming or."
I prior to this coming out, just knowing who made it, I'm like, this has to be a rated R movie that they trimmed down. And then watching it, I'm like, there's definitely gonna be an unrated version.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I don't think it's gonna actually like really change the main experience of the movie. It's gonna make it a little bit more enjoyable for us weirdos that like rated R, gore fest.
I mean, they have one fuck to use, and they use it well with the fucking Brandon kid when his mom's like, "Are you okay? Do you need your jacket?" He's like, "Fuck off, Holly." That was wonderful. That was great. I'm all for like in a PG-13. That's the one thing that I always remember to look for is how well they use that one fuck because you only get one, and like
Yeah.
you got to really, really use it at the right moment. And I felt like they did. That was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, this was a great adaptation from an R to a PG-13. Like they kept all the right stuff, and then they cut out the stuff that our imaginations can run away with. Like it didn't bother me at all that this was PG-13.
No, I mean, they literally show Megan ripping a fucking kid's ear off, which I was all for. That kid also, they made him out to be like the worst fucking kid, like because they're like, we're gonna kill a kid, we better make this kid the worst fucking kid ever.
The part that part of the movie when that happens, Me and Sarah were watching. We're like, is he gonna rape the
Dude,
doll?
I thought he was about to. He takes off her fucking shoe and then he like mounts her, and I was like, oh, he's definitely gonna like sexually assault the robot. I don't know if
And-
that's possible, but I think he's going to.
well, and now I'm like, if there is an unrated version, does that scene go further? Like
I mean,
that's a child actor. Like, is this?
yeah, they might use a body double for that part. But also, it's like he's fucking what, a robot? There's probably nowhere he can slip his dick into, and if he does, I'm sure he would wish that he didn't after he did finally put it in there. It probably wouldn't be nice.
You don't think that that Gemma
No.
was that thorough in the
I don't think
design?
she made her like a silicone vagina. I think it's like definitely not existent. Like, are you telling me that you think this thing like shits and pees too?
I don't know. I mean, the perpetual pet or
That's
whatever, it did shit, and I don't know if it peed, but it shit.
Yeah, who would want a fucking doll that shits though? That's the one thing I was wondering. I mean, I know those were basically like Furbies.
Didn't didn't Tamagotchis shit?
Yeah, but that's like a digital shit. It's not like a thing that like squirts out shit like an actual like Furby toy. Which I did have a Furby. Did you ever have a Furby? 'Cause those are
Um,
popular when we were growing up.
I remember Furbies. I mean, I'm pretty sure they inspired Gremlins or Gremlins inspired Furbies, but I had a Furby and I did the thing where if you took a TV remote and you put it against the like crystal thing, you could make it like glitch out and like freak
So
out by
you
pushing
sorted it
buttons.
out.
Yeah. I abused Furbies.
I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think a lot of Furbies lasted long in any case because like, I know I had one and then it like started waking up in the middle of the night and like talking and making all this noise. And one night my dad finally had just like had it and he like took it out to the garage and beat it to death with a fucking hammer. So that was the end of
Oh,
my Furby.
that's an episode we need to do. We need to interview dads
No,
that have all destroyed Furbies, because I bet there's a large populations of dads that are like, I hate Furbies. I've killed at least one.
I mean, maybe this is like James Wan came up with the story of this movie, so maybe he like had his dad destroy his Furby when he was a kid and he really hasn't gotten over it. And that is why he made this movie. Cuz I was like it makes sense. They're definitely going to have to kill it at the end. That's what happened to every toy I ever had. I'm sure my dad killed my Tamagotchi too. Cuz I never remember to feed those things. Like I a kid, it's a lot of responsibility if they're pooping and
I was never into the Tamagotchi thing. I know Sarah is. I'm pretty sure Sarah and her sisters all have some underlying hatred of each other that revolves around Tamagotchis. But
oh, I'm sure. Yeah, it really tears I mean, clearly all these toys like they tear families apart. I think this movie was pretty spot on with that. I mean, although I feel like would you want a Megan if you were a kid? I was wondering like I feel like I probably would, but it would make me a horrible fucked up person for sure.
so I think the one thing this movie did not really touch on, maybe it'll get into it with the sequels because the toy was never actually launched and go live. I don't know how Megan works with young boys. Not like, I'm not saying the boys would do the other kid thing and like try to rape it, but like,
I'm sure that most of them would try to fuck it.
well, no, like if they're the girl's age, like they're not even going through puberty yet. Like they don't have those urges.
But maybe there's a boy version.
Morgan,
Yeah, Morgan the boy version.
that has to be at least in the third movie is where they introduce Morgan.
Definitely. And then he's got well, I guess he had a 3 in his name. You gotta add it somewhere.
It won't be a 3, it'll be the 0. The O will be a
Yeah.
0.
We're going back because it's the third movie. We're going back to the original. We're gonna learn something new that affects the storyline. It's the rules.
But I mean, I don't know if I'm sure Megan could keep up with at least, the traditional boys wanting to destroy stuff. Like Megan, she learns and adapts. So maybe it'd be awesome.
I mean, she just does whatever you want, your user.
Once puberty hits, then it's a problem.
Yeah, well, you just can't give her a vagina. Just don't install one. There's no need for it. I doubt that it was involved already. But yeah, maybe there's just an option to make a male version, and anyone can choose whatever they want. They had different like skin colors and hair colors and all that different stuff. So
You know who we need to ask, because neither of us apply, is Only Childs.
Nolan's an only child
Because you had a younger sister
and an older sister.
and an older sister, so like you had essentially a Megan around all the time.
That's true.
You would fight with them, but I don't know, maybe this movie, the situation is an only child and also her parents die.
But also she's more than a sibling. She's like a parent and a sibling and a best friend, all wrapped up into one.
Are you talking about Megan?
Yeah, not my sisters.
Well, yeah, yeah, Megan becomes that. But like if we're talking about as a toy, like
I mean, yeah, whatever. I would probably be best friends with it and I would love it. I would probably have the best time ever. But then it's like, I'm sure that if your only friend is a fucking robot, you're gonna have some fucked up shit in your life. Like I'm positive. But I didn't expect this movie to get into all that. I thought it was just gonna be like, oh, the girl like she's like bonds with Megan, but it wasn't gonna be anything about the parenting and like why when she really needs somebody, you're like handing her over to this robot. And that's why
yeah.
she's forming a motherly bond with that thing instead of Allison Williams because she's like, Megan can take care of all that shit. So you can focus on what matters most. And it's like
Oh,
she's working.
yeah. Totally. And that was the thing that really surprised me was where they took this idea of the toy. Cause like I was expecting Malignant style just insanity. And I was also like thinking Chucky. Like Chucky is, they buy a toy, but then the toy gets possessed by a serial killer. Like so it's not the same thing.
No.
But like when they had the opening scene with the toy commercial and then the girl having the toy and her playing on the iPad that's connected to the toy, I immediately just started thinking of kids and like parents and like talking to their kids like here's the iPad, here's whatever, and like it can just be like they spend a ton of time on that. And then they took that frame of thinking and just like seamlessly transitioned it to Megan, to a
Mhm.
toy of like
So it's like
being
not a screen. Technically, she's a real person. Looks like it. She's in
yeah.
the real world, but it's still the same thing.
Yeah, because people like say like there's the screen addiction, there's emotional connection to the things that you watch,
Mm-hmm.
and then yeah, like they again seamlessly transitioned that emotional connection and addiction to this life-size little girl toy.
It's again, I think it's just we're also creating things we don't understand
Yeah.
still. And like that's like it's cool that we could do these things. I mean, it kind of goes back to Jurassic Park, where it's like, your scientists didn't ask themselves if they should do it. It was just they can do it, so why not? Like it wasn't like, but should we, right? Should we make a fucking robot that can learn and teach itself and be like, I mean, they had to know just having her learn everything all the time. That thing's going to be unstoppable.
Really, Megan is actually a prequel to Westworld.
Yeah, literally. I mean, she's already sentient, I think. I mean,
We're going to take this stuff, we're going to put it into an adult, and then people are going to fuck that.
when she talks, like it's like, oh shit. And is it just me, or does Megan like look and sound a lot like Allison Williams? Like I felt like that was on purpose a little bit, where they kind of reminded me of each other, because obviously she learned everything from her, anyways.
I thought it looked like Gollum with those big eyes.
Oh, I mean, I
But
thought she was kind of cute, honestly, and her outfit's
hot
pretty awesome.
Gollum.
Hot Gollum. I mean, she's just an icon already. I think I love her kill styles. I love everything about her. I think she's just we needed her and she showed up.
She did. And like she did so well as being the villain, but then also being this really emotional and like super important character.
When she makes Katie, like when she's crying about her parents and she like helps her feel a lot better and records the memory, it was like, shit, fucking Megan making me feel shit.
Anytime you want to tell me something special about your parents, something funny or sad or anything at all, you just tell me, and I'll keep it safe. and we can listen to it whenever we want.
I was sold on that scene. I'm like, I was the people, I was the boardroom people. I'm just like clapping. I'm like,
Yeah, this is amazing.
yes.
But then I'm also like, when Allison Williams' friend like brought up the issue of like, well, basically you're just replacing the parents. It's not supporting them. I was like, that's a good point. Because at
Yeah.
first you're like, wow, she really can take all the like shit things that you don't want to do, which is like, being kind of basically what a parent is. And she just takes over. Then it's like, what are you doing to the kid? What are you doing with the kid? Where's the relationship? And like, even the psychologist like bringing up like she's probably forming that attachment now to the robot. And you're like, oh god, this is not going to be good. And it's like, I don't know, I just felt like I loved all of that stuff. I was so surprised that it actually had anything to say and had some emotion behind it. Like, I thought Allison Williams and Violet McGraw were so good.
Why did you do this if you were just gonna take her away from me?
Because I thought she would help.
She does help. When Megan's around, I don't feel like this.
But you should feel like this. Katie, you lost your parents.
I thought Allison Williams, I thought she was fine. I actually really liked Violet McGraw. I thought she was great.
You didn't think Allison Williams was great? You're saying she was fine? I thought she was really good.
I thought she was good. She was fine. I thought Violet McGraw was way better.
She's just great. I mean, you remember her from like Haunting of Hill House, and she's just so good. I think she's super talented.
Yeah, I mean, she's a great young actress that like she's
On the way up.
She's gonna do good things just as she continues to age and get older. Like we're getting her now. It's gonna be awesome.
Her sister, do you know who her older sister is?
No.
The girl Madeline McGraw from The Black Phone. The sister in that's her
Oh.
older sister. Interesting.
That is some shoes to fill because she's awesome in Black Phone.
I know. Talented family, but I enjoyed Allison Williams. I think she's great. She was playing what she needed to do, and I think she did it well. And even like I didn't hate her. I think I just associate her as Marnie from Girls, so I
Yeah.
still always don't trust her. Never trust her, but she earned my trust. I thought she was really good.
Yeah, she was good at she was really good at being the person who you questioned whether or not like could be a mother. And that's kind of a big part of this movie. And even like they have the therapist who's kind of playing like a social worker role of like, are you fit to be a mother?
I mean, I
kind
feel
of
like
thing.
that woman was kind of a bitch though at first. I was like, I mean, calm down. I feel like she was treating Allison Williams like she was like a reformed serial killer at first. And I was like, I mean, I know she's not great, but like relax. Like
Yeah.
Jesus. I don't know. It just seemed a little bit much. Like she was really sus for no reason.
Well, I think the breakout though is Megan. And that is a combination of how they did the voice acting and like how they intentionally like digitized the voice to make it sound not human and like for
Like
us
auto-tuned.
yeah, like be like, oh, this is weird, this is obviously a robot. But then also even just like the movements, how they switched from like a puppet to the close-up shots to the actors in the wide shots. And it was so effective to me.
Totally. Made a big difference. I love it practical. And the fact that that girl can run like that is fucked up.
Oh,
what's her name?
So there's two people. So Ami, Amie, Amy,
Mm-hmm.
Amy Donald, and Jenna Davis is the voice. So Amy Donald is the physical, the
That's
actor.
insane that she runs like that on all fours. That was fucking horrifying.
Yeah. Funny thing about that, I actually saw a little trivia thing. So you know the Robo dog.
Mm-hmm.
So scientists and like robots have not figured out how to replicate running on two legs. Like the physics of it just haven't been figured out yet. And so they figured out running on four legs. They were like, that's why Megan, when she actually runs, she goes on all four legs. Is because they haven't.
I mean,
but yeah, it was so effective.
it was I thought it was like that. Damn, they're like, that looks fucking freaky as fuck. That's like the Grudge kind of thing with like the kid coming down the stairs, or even The Exorcist. I mean, when you do some sort of like all fours walk, you know it's gonna work.
Well, and as a big fan of Planet of the Apes, I was all here for the four-legged running. It was awesome.
That's true. A little
Um,
bit different, but yeah.
yeah, a little bit. But like also like the way that they did her face and facial expressions, like all of her expressions were almost like half expressions, like they weren't full, but the way that they would cut to like Allison Williams saying something and then just her just like turning her head,
Mm-hmm.
like I feel like I felt every emotion without Megan actually having to like say anything or even like move her face very much, but just the little movements and how they edited it, I thought it was so good.
Sounds like someone's coming around to my side of the mask debate. They're like, wow, you can really perform without saying anything.
Well, notice what I said. The editing,
Still, the fact that the performance is also like the majority of what you're talking about.
and I've also acknowledged that there's two different people.
All
One
right,
of them
Chase.
actually talks, so you're
Mm,
bringing this back up, but
I forgot. I should just fucking never remind you of anything. You're never gonna come to your senses. Fine, just move on.
but yeah, like I thought this movie was incredibly well written.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Using what they do and the characters and the limitations, like you have a toy as like a main, antagonist. Like how do you compare like Heath Ledger as the Joker, like very expressive antagonist. Like it's hard to have like this very not animated figure be an antagonist, and they totally crushed it. And I think that is all the writing and the directing.
Yeah, 100%. I haven't actually seen the director's like movie that he did before this, but I know he's from New Zealand, and I think his previous movie is called Housebound. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's on Shutter, so I definitely need to watch it. They picked him because they loved his like they thought he had the perfect balance for horror comedy, and obviously Akela Cooper, who we've mentioned, is the writer, and she also wrote Malignant, and I think she's just amazing. And her next movie is a Stephen King adaptation, so I'm even more excited about it because she's adapting one of my favorite of his short stories, The Boogeyman, and she's co-writing it with the writers of A Quiet Place, Scott Beck and
Ooh,
Brian Woods.
ooh.
Yeah, that's gonna be really good. And that movie was supposed to debut on streaming, and it's getting the Smile thing where it tested so well that they're releasing it in theaters.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I believe by the time we post this episode, I believe the trailer will be out. So I hope you're all as excited as I am because after Malignant and Megan, I just am so excited to see whatever Akela Cooper does next. She's incredible.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Between this and Malignant, James Wan definitely has a hard on for Seattle. Like, don't you think?
Totally. We when we were watching it, there was something they said, but Sarah was like, "Wait, does this movie take place in Seattle?" And then she like looked it up. She's like, "Yeah, it does." It was what a weird
Very
choice.
weird, but I love it. I mean, this and Malignant, I think they're a bit more obvious about it in Malignant, but
Yeah.
this one, I was like, oh shit. I mean, they mentioned that they're in Oregon in the first scene with the car crash and the parents dying.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, okay. So we're close. And then I didn't realize until I rewatched it that it's fucking Seattle. And I was like, man, this guy, he gets a boner every time he thinks about Seattle, which I love to see. That's our city.
I think what we need is we need James Wan to remake The Ring.
God. No, that's enough. We've seen The Ring. That's enough. Although, another good PG-13 horror movie. I'm telling you.
Touche.
Way to bring it all connects, Chase. But yeah, we can now get into the ending because I did want to talk to you about the ending.
So the ending, I mean, first off, I knew as soon as they introduced that other robot, I'm like, this is going to come in later on.
I didn't even think about that. I just thought it was pretty
Really?
cool. I loved Bruce. I got swept up in the emotions. I was like, Bruce is pretty fucking cool. But I didn't even think about it. They show, and I love when movies do that because they always do.
Well, it's almost like like I'm trained at this point that it's like if they bring up something early on that's supposed to be like, oh, this is really important.
Chekhov's gun.
It's probably gonna come back. Um,
I didn't expect that with the motherboard thing or whatever the fuck her brain is called, which both of those come back because Bruce doesn't he rips Megan in half, but he doesn't kill her because her brain's in her
wait,
fucking head.
you're saying when Allison Williams is explaining all the
Yeah.
parts and she's
And she
like, "This is the brain."
Mhm.
You didn't think that was gonna come into
I
play
mean, I
later?
figured that they were gonna go for it, but then when Bruce showed up, I was like, "Oh, she's gonna fucking just get destroyed by Bruce." And then when Bruce didn't kill her, I was like, "Oh shit." Yeah, there when he ripped her in half, I'm like, "Come on, guys. We all know where the brain is." Plus, I think like the ending, obviously, when we get right down to it, after they get the screwdriver in her fucking brain and fry her, that when they leave, the little Elsie thing, like
Yeah.
her smart home device, like turns and looks at them.
Yeah.
So it's like, no shit, 'cause she was already using that thing
Yeah,
before.
she was wireless. She was
Yeah.
hacking stuff over the internet the whole
I
movie.
mean, getting
She
into the
learned and
car when
got better.
she was doing it with literally everything. She was walking by the alarm and it's like, "Oh, done. All systems good." Like it was obvious. I was like, I knew that, but then I guess the one thing I was wondering if you caught, and like this might be why I was thinking, here's the pitch for the sequel, is because in addition to her like having uploaded her consciousness or whatever, the like assistant guy to David, the CEO, he
Yeah.
was like stealing all their information.
The guy who was Pornhubbing.
Pornhubbing, the Pornhub guy, he was selling their info and shit. And like obviously Megan kills them, but I'm sure because it showed him steal the Megan shit that like he stole that info and sent it out. So like another company probably will be making a billion Megans.
Yeah.
So my pitch for the sequel is that they need Megan on their side. So then Megan teams up with Allison Williams and with little Katie, and they got to
Oh.
take on the army of Megans.
Oh, okay, so you're saying they bring back the original Megan. We'll call her Megan Prime. The original Prime.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's an army of evil Megans, of lesser.
Yeah, they're like fucked up, but they're even something's wrong with them, obviously, because they're like knockoffs, right?
Yeah.
For way cheaper. But then by the end of the movie, Megan will turn to the dark side, if you will, and she will join with the fucking army of Megans, and then that will be the third movie. I'm setting up a trilogy here.
You're almost describing like the Planet of the Apes, but with Megan.
I think you're just thinking of Planet of the Apes a lot, man. I don't know. I know you watched them recently.
They're fucking great.
I know they're great. I don't know if I'm pitching the Planet of the Apes. I was just thinking that like there's definitely going to be some more of those fucking Megans,
I'm just
right?
saying I'm here for it, even if it is just ripping off Planet of the Apes. I'm here
Whatever
for
it is, maybe like the kids who are like only able to see a PG-13 by the time we get a sequel, maybe it'll be rated R because they'll be old enough. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing. Will they be able to keep it PG-13? So I'm kind of with you on where I see the second one going.
We're just jumping to the third one because the fucking 3 is already in the name.
We already know the third one involves Morgan.
I do like the Morgan bit.
They gotta bring another one in.
The male robot is obviously, maybe that's what it is. The other company makes male robots, and then Megan's like, girl power.
Ooh.
We're going to take on the male robots. But then she's like, you know what? Fuck these bitches. I'm taking the male robots and I'm going to make them better. And she like updates their AI system.
Oh man, Blumhouse needs to reach out to us for this trilogy. Like we're really laying it on. I'm imagining the sequel is going to be kind of like World War Z, Dawn of the Dead, like zombies, but instead it's Megans.
Yep, society's crumbling.
They're dumb and stupid. I don't know if Megan Prime is going to come back, but like I'm just imagining a zombie movie, but with Megans. Dumb TikToking dancing Megans.
I mean, that's the easy route. But what about now? Here's this. I'm going in a new direction here.
Oh, lay it on me.
One of my favorite movies growing up was the Disney Channel original movie Smart House. Do you remember that movie? Did you ever watch it?
No.
Oh my
I didn't
God.
watch any of the Disney original movies. This is a normal conversation between me and Sarah. She loves them. So she knows. You're talking to Sarah. That's who you're talking to.
They're on Disney Plus, Jace. You might want to go back and watch them because they're all bangers. But this one specifically was great because the mom has died. And so the dad, the kid signs them up for this contest and they win the smart house, and like it's a female persona, and then she takes on basically being the mother, but it's like she cooks them everything, and it's a smart, really cool house, and she does all this cool shit. But then she gets like too powerful and thinking that she's really their mother, and it's this whole thing.
Okay.
And so it's like, I'm just saying, horror movie in a house. It's like Smart House, but the horror version with M3gan as the Smart House.
Oh.
Maybe these two characters, they're like, Allison Williams is like, let's get the fuck out of Dodge, and then somebody else moves into the house. I don't know. Could be.
We also have to remember who the creators of this are. They also made Malignant. They could go totally left field. They could do a time jump where in the future the copy M3gans have taken over and they're raising children, and the only people left, because they killed all the parents because the parents are useless, but M3gans are not programmed for grandparents. And so maybe there's a resistance of elderly grandparents that are fighting back, and they're like,
No.
you're teaching our kids the wrong values.
No, the grandparents, are you kidding? M3gan she could take on an army of grandparents by herself. They'd all be dead. Just from the stress of the situation.
These are the copy M3gans. They're the
No.
cheap $50 ones.
No, even still, old people are useless. No offense. I love them, but they are useless, especially in a fight. Especially in a fight. Are you kidding? They're like, if you touch them wrong, their hip's gonna break. M3gan would be indestructible. She's literally titanium as she sings randomly in this movie.
The singing's pretty great.
It really caught me by surprise every time she did it, and it made me uncomfortable, but also like it was perfect.
Shoot me down, but I won't fall. I am titanium.
I loved at the end when Allison Williams comes in and she's playing Toy Soldier on the piano.
Yeah.
I just started hearing the Eminem rapping over that over that song.
It was pretty great. But yeah, I think I'm glad that we're both agreed. Yeah, there's a lot of options for the sequel that they could do. I almost thought you were about to say like Gabriel versus M3gan, which that might be the ultimate movie.
I mean, I don't think there's a crossover. But who do you think would win?
Are you kidding me?
Wait,
I don't know.
Are they both Warner Brothers?
No, but James Wan might own it, and now he's like making his own company with Jason Blum. So
That's true.
Who knows? I don't know, but hear me out. Gabriel can control electronics, so fight over.
We don't know how much control he actually has. He can make lights flicker.
Nice. I guess M3gan can too. Maybe it'd be an even fight. They're both acrobatic. Although I like M3gan's style. She's always posing for the cameras that aren't there as she kills people. I really respect that.
I don't know. M3gan lives in the cloud. I don't think Gabriel can compete with that.
I think he can. I think he could control the crowd. I mean, the cloud.
What if Gabriel becomes Morgan?
Ooh, here we go.
There we
That's
go.
what I'm saying. Those two wacky movies, let's throw them together. See, they did Alien versus Predator. This is not as absurd as that.
Hey, the first one's a banger, but the second one sucks. But I don't know. All I know
Hot
is
take.
James Wan, other than the first Aquaman movie, he keeps doing the right thing. Even the first Aquaman movie made $1 billion. So like
Aquaman is the reason that we have Malignant and now M3gan. So I think I retroactively appreciate that movie.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. We out here.